Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Hugh Middleton and Henry Jones, where they tell us the secret to instilling trust in both their employees and their customers, as well as how they maintain the energy needed to get everything done on a daily basis. Don't go anywhere. Part 2 is just around the corner.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Hugh, in the military, you plan a mission, you practice that mission, you then go do it, and then when it's over, you come back and, I'm not going to use the proper term, you recap what happened, and then you dissect, how do we make this better for the next time? How important are those steps in an organization? Because I see so often a lot of organizations miss all kinds of those steps. But the one about that recap, that opportunity to come back afterwards and say, okay, let's debrief this. I guess it's a debriefing. Tell us how you use that philosophy, if you do, in your own business.
It's funny you actually bring that up, because we just recently had an owner's offsite a few months ago, and that's one of the things that came up. With everybody going in so many different directions, even though we are still a small organization, I thought it was important to bring that up with the leadership, myself included in the company, and get that out to our employees that, like you just said, you plan a mission, you go out and execute it, you come back. The first thing you do is you check your gear, and you make sure your gear is the most important. And then you take a shower, you eat, you take care of yourself after that. I kind of wanted to get that into the company here recently, just so that we don't get too far out in what we're doing and what the guys are working on, different project, things like that. You have to come back and, after a meeting, do an after-action review. Hey, what happened in the meeting? Did we catch everything that the customer said to us? Are we answering their questions in the right way? Even as simple as coming back and preparing for a trade show, you make sure everything's packed, everything's got to show up, everything's got to be on time. Same deal in reverse. When everything comes back to the office, do we have everything? Is everything working? Is everything ready to go for the next demo? So I've tried to instill some of that military ease, if you want to say it that way, within the company, because these guys are all engineers. They're brilliant, smart guys, but they've never been in the military. I can't code, I can't do anything that these guys can do, and almost vice versa. So again, it's a really good, cool mix of folks that we've just been able to grow and prosper over the last 4.5 years with that mentality.
And if they don't do what you want them to do they run extra laps, or do you have them on KP duty? What's the punishment?
Well, you can ask Henry that, but we've been on a few trips where they don't like the workouts, the physical workouts that I'll put them through. So that's usually the punishment.
I like it.
Usually a look from Hugh is enough.
Yeah,
that gets the point across.
Yeah, no, I can understand. I actually went out and I trained for a few days with SEAL Fit, Mark Devine, out on the West Coast, and he runs civilians through SEAL type training and physical and emotional and intelligent exercises. And hats off to you guys. I mean, it's amazing how you can take and build a team. And I do this all the time with my clients. We're a profitability consulting firm, and we're always talking about physical fitness. And people ask all the time, why are you talking about physical fitness? If you don't have the energy to show up in your office at your job to do the work that's necessary, you can have the best plan. You're just not going to be able to execute. What do you guys do individually to keep that energy level up? I mean, it's tough running a business. You make 2 steps forward, you get hit. What keeps you going? How do you do it?
Well, let me tell you one of the dumbest things I ever did, Thor. I thought that I had plenty of energy. And then one of the first trips that Hugh and I took together was for a show on Panama City Beach. And we ran into one of his buddies who just had a workout on the beach. I said, "Oh, that sounds like fun." Hugh said, "You want to do a workout on the beach?" I said, "Sure." Thor, never tell a SEAL that you want to do a workout on the beach. Man, I was covered in sand from head to toe. I think since then, with Hugh's background, he has always taken his wellness seriously, and that's been something that's had an impact on the company as a whole. And so I think we're probably one of the most fit companies out there, period. And a lot of that just goes back to the leadership by example that Hugh provides. Anytime you're around him, he's going to kind of compel you to take good care of your body like he does.
We've actually had some pretty amazing results. And some employees initially, when we hired them on, I mean, we're really overweight, smoked cigarettes, dip, snuff, whatever. And over the last year or so, we've had remarkable results in just getting out, because these guys are coding all day. They're sitting behind computers all day. I'm like, you got to get up, set your alarm on your watch at noon, go to the YMCA down the street or wherever you work out and get some movement going. And everybody's taking that on board. And we've got people that are running marathons, that are doing triathlons, have quit smoking, have quit doing this, that, and the other. So it's I've been proud of the folks that they've taken this on board, because I understand how important it is to be healthy, not only physically but mentally, and it's all for the good of the company, and all of us co-working together.
It's interesting you bring this up, because I find people will bring me into their organizations, and there's a common theme of those organizations that are not doing well. It's poor leadership, lack of leadership. I find the level of excellence within organizations and many to just be pathetic. And it's the leadership team is doing what's easy. They're not addressing the issues. I get the sense from you guys that if you see something, you're addressing it. If something needs to be done, it's being done. If you had some advice for the entrepreneurs out there that are scared, or they're just not doing what they need to do, they're not doing the right thing, they're not making the tough calls, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, I mean, I personally, I don't have much of a filter on my mouth. Again, it kind of comes from my background. We're pretty hard on each other. And you got to call it as you see it, because it determines the success of your company. You cannot be wishy-washy and sit back and let someone do something that is not correct. You got to hit it immediately and don't let it continue. And 9 times out of 10, that person will appreciate that. They'll understand why you're telling them what is right and what is wrong, because it's the culture that you've built, within your company. And us as owners, we run the company, and we want it to flourish and prosper and hire more folks. But my advice is, do not put up with anything that does not culturally fit into your company, and you need to take care of it right away. And don't wait.
Yeah, and you've got to have a culture. You've got to have a written, almost guideline. This is what we stand for. This is what we do. And I love the fact that you said you address it right away. It reminds me of, you got a small puppy, or even a grown dog for that matter. If they're pooping on the rug and you wait 2 days to scold them, he has no idea, or she has no idea what they did. It's got to be immediate. It has to be swift, and it has to be. You can. I think if you don't, you're not doing what you need to do as a leader, but you're also not treating that employee fairly. They've got to know where they stand.
Absolutely, and we've just recently put up some things in the lobby of our office down in Mississippi that I wanted for when the employees walk in every single day, they're reminded who our customers are. These are military folks, law enforcement, first responders. So the work that they do every day has an impact on these people that have such an important job that protect and serve us, as citizens of the country and around the world. So when you talk about culture, I think that's a very important piece of our culture is that we know who we're working for and we know who we're building products for. And it's super, super important.
I think tied into that is what's probably the most important quality of our culture, and that is trust. We have a very high trust environment, and a big part of that is because our customers are trusting our products to work and not really think about it. They have to assume that it's going to work when they pull it out and need it at the time that it's needed. But also it means that we can all work together, knowing that if somebody says something's going to happen, then you don't have to waste precious time on follow-up. You know it's going to work. And we do push the envelope. It's not failure is okay. Especially when you're trusting the other that they did their best. If they did their best, they say it's not going to work, then you don't have to rehash whether or not there's some other way to do it. You know that a talented person said, hey, this isn't going to happen, and you can move on and collectively find another solution. But over and over and over again, we see the dividends of trust.
How do you instill that in people?
You know, Thor, that's a great question. I think we see over and over again that there are a few things that you can instill in somebody at the point where they are going to be hired for your company. They had it in the first place or they didn't. We actually had an owner that we had to separate from early on in our existence because ultimately it was an issue of trust. We were all working hard. We were making mistakes. Failures were taking place as we got our company up to speed. But when it was revealed that there's really a trust issue, that was something that was not going to be, we couldn't reconcile. And I just don't believe you can instill that in the way that you need it to be. It has to be inherent in that person's character in the first place.
On the flip side of the fence, the trust with our customers is, we haven't gotten it right every single time. I mean, like Henry said, you learn from failure. Everybody fails at one thing or another, and you try not to make it happen again. But when something hasn't worked out quite right, our customers know that we will bend over backwards for them to make sure that they get, at the end of the day, what they paid us to do. And whether that's putting in more hours, spending our own money, whatever it is, we have to fix the problem. And a lot of customers in the DoD world aren't used to that. I mean, they're used to, again, big defense contractors with multi-million, multi-year projects. And, they're so big, it's hard for them to provide good customer service. And so building that loyalty and that brand name for us, again, is super important in just making sure that they get, at the end of the day, what they're paying us to do.
Yeah, one of our core values is do the right thing all the time. And it's interesting. It doesn't matter on what level an employee is in the organization. Everybody knows the right thing to do. They really do.
You're absolutely right.
Everybody's interested in success. However, only a few are really committed to it. What's the difference? Those that are committed are willing to do whatever it takes in order to get their outcome, in order to get their goals. If you're not getting the results you need and want, chances are it's accountability. Who's holding you accountable? I've got a challenge for you. For 1 month, 30 days, and $95, our team will hold you accountable for what you said you were going to get done in that month to get your goals, get your outcomes done. If at the end of 30 days you don't like the results or you just didn't like the system, we'll give you your money back. The question is, are you interested or are you committed?
Keep an eye out for part 3 of our interview with Hugh and Henry, where they tell us the importance of keeping your foot on the gas pedal, in addition to how they maintain a successful partnership. See you next time on Peak Performers Podcast.